All right, good evening and welcome to this August 8th meeting of the Webster Groves School District Board of Education. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, has everyone had a chance to take a look and review the agenda? Yes. If so, I'll entertain a motion. All those in favor say aye. Anybody opposed? All right, that carries. Now we are at our public comments section. We did not have any written public comments, but the board does welcome in-person public comments. They are limited to 3 minutes per person. We ask that you please start by stating your name and the school district in which you reside. And Mr. Buck, you are our only one.
Well, welcome back to school. I'll be really quick. I just have a couple of things to say. First of all, given that this is a theater, maybe I just should sing "Some Enchanted Evening." No, okay. I've been driving around campus looking at all the new, fresh things that exist, and they are quite impressive, and they're going to serve this district for a long time. But at the same time, I think they all pale in comparison to the quality of the people in this district and around this table and in every school that we have. And I would like to point out one person in particular that I need to call out, because when she was the principal at Bristol, Joe, as you remember, she was our principal over Annie and Sawyer, Lucas, and a bunch of kids for many, many years. She was the one that started us on Webster on Wheels, for example, with the blacktop ball, et cetera, et cetera. And I just want to put out a shout out to Nancy, because I think it's one of the most selfless things and unselfish things that I have seen anybody in this district do. You know, Bill left to go to MICDS. He had had enough of being a principal. And I'm sorry for shaking. There's something medically wrong with me, so I apologize. But Bill left, leaving an opening that needed to be filled, and Nancy stood in to fill that gap. I think she's only going to do it for a year, but the point is, nobody else stepped up. She stepped up. She's retired, and she's coming back to help. And I just think it's fabulous. So I just want to put a shout out to Nancy. Thanks.
All right, moving on to the communications and recognitions portion of the agenda. We have, to start the new school year, 2 new student advisors. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'll tee this up a little bit. The board established a policy a number of years ago for the purpose of, while being a board in a district that I was always looking for to hear from students, and the student voices always mattered, the board developed a policy that would have advisors that would sit at the table when big decisions, the biggest decisions, systemic decisions were being made. And this year, we're super excited. We had a competitive pool of students that applied for it, very competitive, and a number of sat in interviews along with our former advisors. And Ariana Pepper and Caden Williams rose to the top. They're 2 unbelievable young people involved in all kinds of things, and again, demonstrated through this process that they were willing and they were ready to sit at the table and be involved in discussion. So I wanted to give each of them an opportunity to just briefly introduce themselves and what they're looking forward to about serving in this role. So Ariana, do you want to start us off?
Hi, I'm Ariana. I'm really looking forward to being a student advisor. Thank you. Hi, I'm Ariana Pepper, and I'm really looking forward to being a student advisor to the Board of Education. I think it's a really great opportunity to get to share my opinion as well as the voices of many other students in the community. And I'm really excited to have an impact. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kaden. Like Dr. Simpson was saying, yeah, it's great to be here. It's great to have a voice at a community where I feel like I'm welcome, and it's great to be able to be in this classroom every day and then be able to know, hey, I can help with this or I can help with that. So yeah, like Ariana was saying, it's great to be here, and I'm glad I'm here.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you both for stepping up. Thank you for giving us some of your time. As Dr. Simpson said, we absolutely, as a board, value the student voice. It's one of the most important things that for us to consider. So thank you for your time. All right. Next on the agenda, board calendar. Any updates?
No new updates. This is the first calendar of the year, so as you can see, it's pretty full. All of the draft meetings are on there, as well as some of the different events. As always, as things emerge, we'll work with you to just populate and edit this calendar and bring those additions to you, both through email as well as formally at the board meeting.
Awesome. The next thing on the agenda is board goals. As you guys remember, we passed board goals last year, and this is last year's goals that you will see in your packet. Just wanted to put it on the agenda tonight to have a brief discussion. If anyone has any thoughts or opinions, I think we need to probably take these, make some slight adjustments, and then have some discussion and conduct some edits, and then with the hope of bringing them back and passing them within the next meeting or two, so we can have a refreshed set of board goals for this coming school year. If you take a look at them, there's clearly a couple of things that my colleague Alec wants to talk about.
Yeah, so one of the things that I think we should put on here probably and prioritize is finding a new superintendent, the whole search process and everything around that. So what I can do is I can put together some language around that and then send that out to everyone prior to our next meeting. If there's anything, in looking through this, nothing felt stale or we just came to these goals last year. It feels like they're all still relevant. Clearly, we're still working on implementing the strategic plan. I think advocating for strong public schools still is something that resonates with our board, and then performing as a highly effective board team. So if any of these, though, don't seem right, or you feel like they need to be tweaked, or there's something that you feel like is missing that maybe we oversaw, just let me know, and I can try to either work with you, or I'm happy to try to put some words around it. And so I'll try to get this to you all within a week, so you have some time to sit with it.
Anybody have any questions about the process or some initial thoughts that they want to share? If not, we can totally, I don't want to, it's never good to wordsmith in the middle of a meeting, so I think if you have, edits and word edits and line edits, that's probably best done via email. But if you have some general thoughts. Okay. Hearing none, we will move on to reports from the superintendent and staff, and this is where the fun part of the agenda starts. We get to look at Moss Field at Alumni Stadium.
Yes, super excited. Friday, September 6th is the first home football game. A lot of our teams will be using that stadium up until then. Rob had shared with me earlier that they're working on the track right now, kind of spraying a base layer. Next week it'll turn orange, which will be the dominant color of the track. It's going to be super neat. But we have a team working on an event to recognize all the people, including yourselves and people who are part of just the process, our advisory committees, finance and building, the For the W campaign, just a long list of people that we want to recognize. So the event is going to start actually prior to that game. The game is a 7 o'clock start time. The event will start, people will start invited, and will be invited to start arriving at 5 p.m. And then at 5:15, advisors, you'll be invited too. At 5:15 p.m. will be the tour of the entire facility. And again, it's absolutely incredible. At 5:45, the plan right now is to gather in the pavilion area and share some different remarks and thank yous to everybody who supported the work of getting the stadium, as well as contributions and those kind of things. There will be, at that point, the plan is to have some foods and snack-like items for everybody that's present. And then following that period, there will be time for on-field recognitions as the crowd starts to gather. And then the plan right now, I've been told, is that trying to gather all the people that were there as part of it to kind of, along with some other people, form like the tunnel for the team to run on the field for the first game. So it's going to be a long one, but it's going to be pretty neat and pretty emotional. So any questions related to that opportunity? Okay, thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda is Dr. Adams.
Good evening to all of you. I'm excited to be here tonight to share an update related to several of our strategic planning goals, but one is specifically related to some pathways work that we've been doing throughout our time with the strategic plan in relationship to work that's happening at Hickson and the high school. In your board docs, you have several different documents, and so one of them is a presentation if you want to follow along. It's the first attachment that is linked to board docs that you will see there. Give everyone just a moment to click into that.
If you find it looks like this.
Okay. So as we know, goal number 2 in our strategic plan is around pathways to self-discovery. And so we determined that that was an appropriate title for our Pathways Guidebook that I'll be sharing with you tonight. Our goal for our specific strategy, in the strategic plan has to do with, again, college and career pathways, how we can organize those in a way that aligns them with the coursework that we offer at the high school and at Hickson, but also allow families to begin to think about those areas of interest, those areas of passion for their children that they may want to end up pursuing when they leave us here in Webster Groves. And so we want to make sure that we align those opportunities for kids to either explore those opportunities further, or if a student knows that this is the direction that they want to go, that they can have the opportunities to pursue that and to continue to really engage in that work. The 6 pathways that we are going to use in the Webster Groves School District are included on the next slide. One of which is the creative path, which has to do with arts and communication. I want to be clear, when we're calling this the creative path, there was actually a lot of conversation about going with the creative path, because that almost implies that creativity doesn't live in any of the other pathways, but that's not the case. There are several other situations where I'll explain where some of those disciplines and some of that work lives in other areas as well. But for our purposes, the creative path really is looking at communication, reporting, journalism, opportunities within the fine arts, digital art, those particular areas. The next particular pathway is the health path, and so that's pretty self-explanatory, but a lot of focus and a lot of work in terms of science and serving others, and ultimately incorporating some of our math work in there as well. The next path is the building and fixing path, and that has quite a bit to do with our engineering offerings, industrial tech offerings, a lot of our practical arts fit within that as well. The next path is our business path, which is somewhat self-explanatory, but within that we've included marketing, business management, Thrive work, some of the Chelsea Center work, and then also a lot of our technology work as well. The next path is our nature path, which explores our work around sustainability, science courses, again, Just really that opportunity for, if you have an interest in agriculture or landscaping or anything that has to do with natural resources, this is a potential path for you to explore. And then the final path is the helping path, better known or being referred to as the human services path. And this is where our teaching and learning cohort or opportunities to child development, potentially some of our nonprofit exploration that we'll be doing with something we'll be talking about a little bit later this year in the Frick Center for Civic Engagement that we'll be sharing more with. So again, that's just a high-level overview of the 6 pathways that at this time we've decided to go with. Different districts around us, different districts around the state, nationally, have similar paths. They may be labeled differently, but they're all pretty similar to the work that's being done across the state and also locally within our region. On the next slide, I have a sample for you of how it's organized within the Pathways Guidebook. And so you'll notice on the one side it says current courses offered, and so in this particular pathway that I'm using as the example, it's the business management and technology pathway. You'll notice how within those particular areas we've broken it down into finance, marketing, business management and administration, and then information technology. We've then broken it down into these are the courses that we offer at Webster Groves High School, and these are the current courses that we offer at Hickson Middle School that are in alignment with those pathways. If there's a black box for Hickson Middle School, that means that currently we don't offer something in that pathway. Again, that's another goal within our strategic plan, is to continue to enhance those opportunities, continue to enhance that coursework and our partnerships within that. So this identifies where we currently are with these pathways, but it's exciting to be at this point and to highlight what we already offer, but it also helps us to identify what our next steps are in relationship to this. You'll also notice on the other side, our communications department did a brilliant job of, in the overall guidebook, highlighting photos of what this work actually looks like in the Webster Groves School District. And so in just a moment, I'll invite you to get into the actual guidebook and take a look at that. But you'll also notice in the description of that particular pathway, it does a really nice job of highlighting different directions and helping our families and our students and our staff better understand how we are defining that particular pathway. Okay, so that structure is then laid out in the guidebook for all 6 of those pathways. The next part, I've been so excited to share this with folks all summer, around what we are calling or deeming WG+. And so there are many districts, actually not many, that's the wrong use of words. There are some districts within our state who are developing programs or initiatives related to, yes, we want our students to leave us with a high school diploma. That's the WG part. We are setting the idea forth that we want our students to not only leave Webster Groves with that diploma, but we also want our students to leave with at least one additional experience. That's where the plus comes in. And so the way we are defining WG plus is you'll see a list there of the different experiences, many of which we currently offer. But the idea is that if I were a high school student at Webster Groves High School, I'm leaving with my diploma, I've received all of my credits, I'm graduating high school, but I would also hopefully have the opportunity to engage in either an AP course or engage in an internship related to one of my courses, or engage in a dual credit, dual enrollment opportunity, engage in a passion pursuit, engage in a travel experience, earn an industry recognized credential for one of the courses that I'm taking, or perhaps participate in the Seal of Biliteracy. So not only are we achieving our high school diploma, but the idea is that we are also leaving Webster Groves High School with one awesome additional experience. I'm really excited because I feel like this will give us, going forward, a metric that we can measure and we can look at in terms of overall how many of our students are leaving us with their high school diploma and how many of our students are leaving us with that plus, that additional opportunity, which will also drive and connect to a lot of the pathways work that we're doing. So I'm really excited to roll this out. Dr. Irvin is super excited about this, and so more to come. We will be rolling this out and introducing this fall, which I'll talk about in just a moment with the communications timeline. But really excited to present to our community, hopefully in a packaged form, all of the great opportunities that we already offer our students, but then also kind of setting the baseline for how we want to expand going forward. In terms of next steps related to this work, the idea with the Pathways Guidebook is that it is a living document. So we will continue, along with our other strategic planning goals, to add to this pathway as we recognize or identify another university that we want to partner with, or as we add another industry-recognized credential related to one of our courses. We will be updating the Pathways Guidebook from year to year, so that way it really does collect all of the different opportunities that we have. Our continued Pathways work really is to expand our dual credit and dual enrollment opportunities. Just recently, we've partnered with WashU and also with Webster University. We have some exciting things coming up that we will be sharing this fall related to the work with WashU, but you're already aware with Webster University of our teaching and learning cohort and the dual credit options there. We are also exploring some opportunities with St. Louis Community College in terms of their different pathways work that they're offering and potential alignment between what they're offering and what we can offer or what we already do offer. This year we will be participating in, I'll be leading a program evaluation for our CTE programs, our career and technical education programs. So Thrive, marketing, business, facts, really taking a look at those opportunities, and within those particular departments, that's where a lot of your industry recognized credentials will fall. And so it's an opportunity for us to audit what we are currently offering, and we know there are so many other opportunities that are out there that we don't currently offer. And so I'm excited that that could potentially be one of our next steps or recommendations from that program evaluation of how do we align so that we can offer and add to those industry recognized credentials. So I'm using industry recognized credentials thinking that everybody fully knows what I'm meaning. That would be, for instance, an industry recognized credential for the teaching and learning cohort. Maybe that not only are you leaving with a dual credit option, but you could also leave with certification to be a substitute in the state of Missouri. So that's an example of an industry recognized credential. Thinking about our industrial tech opportunities, our automotive opportunities, what are some industry recognized credentials that we could attach to some of those courses so they're not just getting their coursework, they're also leaving us with the ability to take that industry recognized credential and then immediately do something with it. Along with that, we want to expand our extracurricular experiences and how they can be incorporated into future pathways work. That's another one of our strategic planning goals, is really looking at auditing what different experiences we have and how can we align that in addition to the coursework, how can we align that within the guidebook for our pathways. And then one of the other attachments that you have in board docs is a communications timeline that our communications department has partnered with us to roll out the idea of each of our 6 pathways, the idea, the concept of WG+. And so we'll be sharing that in video vignettes, in a website, et cetera, this fall, in hopes that families access that information prior to whenever they start signing up for courses beginning later in the winter and into January. And the idea is that as we continue to enhance those pathways, add to this guidebook, the videos change, and this kind of becomes how we go about informing our families over multiple years beginning in middle school, so that even in middle school, they can begin to think about what are the potential opportunities that they have at the high school. Again, none of this work is meant to lock a student into, all right, you said in 6th grade you want to be a scientist, you are now a senior, you're going to be a scientist. That's not the goal of this. It's for a student who wants to pursue or has a lot of different areas of interest, got multiple courses you can take in any of those areas of interest, or if you're a student and you know you want to be a scientist, you can begin plotting out that path and you can participate in that. So it's giving our students multiple opportunities to think about what their future endeavors might be. And then finally, to develop that Pathways website, a lot of the information that's included in the guidebook will also be available on the website. It's just another way of organizing that information so that our families can access it. All right, and then the other two attachments that you have, one of which is the communications timeline, and the other is the Pathways guidebook itself. What questions do you have?
Will this be pushed to specific grades or all grades or what?
Yeah, so the idea this fall really is to beginning, honestly, I would hope that the plan is to do a K-12, pre-K-12 experience. I think our elementary parents would enjoy hearing about this, knowing about this. I think our middle school families would appreciate knowing about this, and our high school families will know this. And so going forward, though, the idea would be to couple a lot of this information, once it's originally introduced to everybody, to couple it with some of that career planning that begins happening in middle school, but then continues throughout high school.
Yeah.
But at this point, the idea is to blanket everyone with this information so it becomes just common knowledge in the community.
It's really great. It's really great to see it all in one place and kind of see how many courses we have in a particular area and where we might potentially want to add more. And I think it's great for parents to see this. I think it's great for students to see it so they can understand how what they're doing fits into, you know, something bigger potentially. So thank you so much for this.
Absolutely.
I think
No,
it's
we've known that we offer quite a few courses. It's just another way of looking at all the opportunities that we have. And so it's really exciting work.
Yeah, I agree.
So quick questions. I agree with Tara. I think this is awesome. Curious, who helps so I love the idea of, as you know, as an elementary parent, to watch my little progress through her big years. Who helps monitor? Like, how is that monitored? You know, who connects with the kids and talks with them about it? I think it's really neat to think about, like, oh, a kid at kindergarten, and then to see a whole growth portfolio through their career and where they end up at, you know, their junior, senior in high school. But just curious, like, where does that document live? Where does that progress live?
Sure. So, yeah, I've got several responses to that. So thinking through, at the elementary level, a lot of it really is more about just general exploration. So especially when we get to 4th and 5th grade, a lot of that lives with the guidance counselor. Mm-hmm. And that actually continues throughout the rest of their time in the district. But at the elementary level, it's more about, here are potential careers, here are, like, a lot of career days happen at the elementary school, a lot of special presentations, folks come in and visit. It's just about awareness at that level. When the students get to middle school, that's when they begin. If you all recall, we've talked about another one of our strategic planning goals is around that individual career document that students create in middle school. Our ultimate goal is to align that with the pathways. And so that gets initiated in 6th grade and in 7th grade with our middle school students. And then one thing that we worked on this summer was to ensure that that same document is then being passed on to our high school guidance counselors. And there were some barriers to that communication, and we were able to sort through that this summer. And now we're all using the exact same plan. And the idea is, it's not in there yet, but the idea is to house that in Infinite Campus so that a parent can log in and see the updated version of what that career plan is for their student and have input around what that can look like, or as it's changing from 6th grade to the freshman year to junior year. And so right now, to directly answer your question, a lot of it does live with the guidance counselor. It starts at introductory level at the elementary, but then it really starts to get firm as students are making those course choices at the high school level for credit.
So, and then I think just another wondering, I love the WG+. I think experiential experiences are, I mean, we could have a whole different conversation about how we need to blow up our current system and really shift it for kids, but I think the experiences is really where the true learning and exploration lives. But I'm wondering about the financial support, especially when we think about travel and the opportunities to move outside of our city. I mean, we have great resources, and great people. I think about the work that Rob Connolly did at Bulrush before he moved, partnering with Normandy, when you talk about those real industry certifications and experiences. But where does that cost figure in? How do we offset that? I think it's probably larger than a school budget, but how do we ensure that kids don't miss out on a trip to go overseas? I mean, just your first international experience, or the whole process of getting a passport. It's all those expenses. How do we ensure that every kid can live into that and not let finances be a barrier?
100%. And actually, I feel like I keep saying that's another strategic plan strategy, but it actually is another strategic plan strategy for, I will be leading this along with our CFO in terms of looking at what are all the additional experiences that we provide and auditing, how much they cost. Are they barriers? If they are barriers, what are some creative solutions that we can begin to explore or continue to explore to remove and create those opportunities, so that eventually, my dream is that all of our kids graduate with a WG+, that everyone has had at least one additional experience related to that work. And so how do we, not only by word of mouth and getting the communication out there, but then how do we also look at the support we're providing so that we can make sure that that's happening for everybody? To say that we've figured it out completely, no. But that's one of the goals that we want to continue related to this work.
I was just going to add another convergence is another one of our goals is looking at transitions from preschool all the way through the high school. So not just from middle to high, but what information and knowledge needs to be shared among the professionals in our school system in support of our children as they matriculate through the system. And we've made improvements in that, but we still have work to do. So it's all kind of coming together. And your point about the economics is big, because even dual credits, we have a number of kids who might be in dual credit classes, but they can't afford like the $210 from UMSL to get that extra credit. And so cost is a huge factor that we have to consider, and with all of this.
So John, then currently, if a kid presents with an interest in doing dual credit, but finances are, the financial piece is a barrier, how does that, in the current, without having, I know there's more work to be done in this area. How do we support kids currently?
I don't think there's not, to my knowledge, a process for ensuring all of them are able to do that. I do know historically through this district, there's a lot of people that have out of pocket supported kids in a lot of different ways, but there's not and there's barriers to what we can do, because we're also not allowed to gift money in the schools. And that's been one of the things with the Chelsea Center, is just trying to provide people with, it's even through scholarships, we can't put the money necessarily in the hand of somebody to then do this. So how do we work with universities, like with dual credit possibly, to pay them directly? But that can't be public money doing that. That could be donated money doing that, but not public money doing that. So I think there's a lot of people that are, I know Glenn Dietrich especially has been really, it can be frustrating to him as he's looking to get this in the hands of children who need it, or opportunities for travel. So it's a big thing that we have to figure out. Yeah.
Is that something the foundation can do? Because most of that's raised, fundraising, right? Not.
Yes, it could definitely be a specific thing through the foundation. And again, it's so for scholarships, and again, it's a little bit more complicated. In the past, there used to be money where kids would get scholarships and the money would go to the student, but that's not something we could do. So now the money then has to go to the university. It's just a little bit more challenging than it used to be, but you got to do what you got. You're not going to break any laws to do anything. So yes, that is a possibility that something would be set up through the foundation for that. Yes.
Jason, hopefully it will be a quick question. And I was trying to look in the guidebook. If there are classes that can kind of cross over, say marketing could go with communications, you know, because you want to get into advertising, or vice versa, you want creative, because you want to be, you know, get into advertising, but that also still has to do with business. Is there a way to kind of cross-reference those for kids who might want to?
That's a really good question. So actually, the way it is currently set up, so take Thrive, for example, it lives in several of the different pathways. So the way we've currently done it is Thrive is listed directly in each of those pathways. So Thrive, I think in 3 different pathways it pops up. Also, a lot of our digital courses and some of our fine arts and practical arts courses, if there is a connection in multiple pathways, we've placed it under that multiple pathway.
I also wanted to add, there's a lot of curriculum that's taught at the different levels that aligns with these particular pathways. So while you won't see a finance course at Hickson, there's a lot of different levels of math taught there that embeds within it finance. But there's not like a standalone course on finance necessarily. Kaden, Ariana, I don't want to put you on the spot day one, but do you have anything you want to share related? You don't have to.
I was just wondering, so say like I am right now, and I hear about this program, and we're talking about how kids are starting 6th, 7th grade, or maybe even before that, and how they're building up to it. Just wondering how that looks for someone that's my age, or maybe even older, that maybe doesn't know what they're going to do, and next year they're applying for colleges, or maybe this summer. So just wondering what that looks like for them.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good question. And I think part of the conversation with our counselors, as your guidance counselors are meeting with you this year, this fall, or helping you throughout that process, is to look back. You're already at a point where this pathways work has kind of passed you by. However, the courses that are offered in the Pathways Guide are consistent courses with what we've offered for the last few years. So I think this will allow our guidance counselors to be able to sit with you and to say, okay, you've taken this course, this course, this course. This actually opens up several different pathways to you. Any interest in continuing to explore that, or here are potential careers or areas of continued study at the university level, if that's the direction that folks go, then you can engage in that conversation. They can help plot out where you've already been as you're thinking about moving forward. So those conversations will look, you're right, will look really different, especially at the higher levels of high school, than what they will at the beginning in middle school as students are beginning to make that transition with these pathways.
All right, any other questions for Dr. Adams?
I guess the only one I have, and I think you kind of answered it, but, you know, there are 6 kind of, you know, catch-alls, if you will, and if there, I'm sure this represents the majority of the professions, but if there's things that aren't on here, politics or something like that, like is that where you just have to work with a guidance counselor and figure out like where the, like which, it's probably in multiple pathways that you kind of have to go back and forth between or something? I don't know, I'm just curious.
Yeah, so that's the really exciting thing about the current structure with the Chelsea Center is that through the coursework that we offer in the Chelsea Center, one of our courses is around passion pursuits. And so it's more of an independent study. If we don't have a set course for a particular area of focus, then you can take passion pursuits, and it's almost as though you're working with Dr. Ahrens to develop your own course of study related to that. And the idea with this pathways work is then how do we tap into those experiences and that passion pursuits course so that we can open up even more opportunities for kids. And so to connect it to other work that we're doing, this summer we hosted the first annual Experiential Learning Academy for our teachers, because our goal in it, parallel to as we're rolling out this Pathways Guidebook, is to also move experiential learning out of just being considered a part of the Chelsea Center, but how do we integrate that into all of our courses at the high school, into all of our work at the middle school? And so Dr. Ahrens and I co-facilitated with the Society for Experiential Learning to invite a group of teachers into that learning. We'll be studying with them throughout the year. So that way, if you are taking a particular civics course or something along those lines, we're actually embedding in some of those internships and some of those experiences within the course that hopefully everybody will have access to that as well. And in addition to that, you mentioned the politics piece. It's much bigger than politics, but one of the things we'll be sharing, I believe in October, is the idea of the Frick Center for Civic Engagement, which will be a similar program to Thrive, but it'll be a combination of English credit, social studies credit, and then some elective credit for students in their junior and senior year who really want to dive into more civics engagement. Could be politics, it could be law. A lot of different nonprofit work fits within the idea of the Frick Center, so we'll actually be adding another avenue toward one of the pathways that we'll be sharing with you all throughout this year as it relates to some new courses that we'll be offering as well.
Thanks.
Awesome.
I
That is-
just thank you just for the work and the thought that all of you, administrators, teachers, everyone, thanks for putting all this together. This is awesome. Appreciate it.
I appreciate that, and I will say that the high school team and the Hickson team, they're on fire about this. They're really excited. And again, a lot of the courses we've offered, it's just another way of packaging them and another way of thinking about the opportunities that they present. And so hopefully this will also help our families to feel more partnered with us as they're supporting their kids and making those college or career decisions going forward.
Absolutely. Thank you for all the work and the thought. I think it's all really exciting. And then hearing the idea of pulling the experiential piece further out of Thrive and further down through all of our courses is what really excites me. I think that's going to be great for our children moving forward. So definitely thank you and your team and everybody that's worked on this. It's great.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, as we all know, we saw the announcement of Dr. Simpson's retirement. So as part of that process, as a board, we will begin the process to hire a new superintendent. The first step in that is an RFP that you have a draft in your packet in front of you that will allow us to hire an executive search firm to help us with that process. That is in your packet. It's in there with a timeline. You know, we're going to be pretty aggressive because it's going to be a competitive market, we know, for the hiring process. So we want to, if you guys agree, pass this RFP tonight, so that will be open. Then we will give that through basically the end of the month to collect those RFP responses, get a firm on board in mid-September with the ultimate goal of hiring a new superintendent by the end of the year, at the worst case scenario, a little bit into January, hopefully. So that's tentatively the plan. So anybody have any questions about the RFP in front of you? For all of your information, it is based on an RFP that we used last time we hired a superintendent, with updates, obviously, with some new things we've taken from other area districts that have RFPs out as well. So we've just sort of done that. Our attorneys have looked at it and signed off. So, but I'm happy to entertain any questions if you have any. And if not, I'd entertain a motion.
I think the only other thing that is worth mentioning is this is just for the search firm.
Correct.
This isn't for the entire process. There will be different ways to go about the process that I'm sure the different firms will bring to us, but we will be involving multiple stakeholders internally, within the community, our educators, our administrators, so on and so forth. So I wanted to make that clear for, I think we all know that, but also for the community to hear that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
The community didn't know this. When Gianna's going to be leaving, this is new information to the community. And I'm sorry to speak up, but like this is new stuff that we did not know about. That
Yeah.
John's leaving.
Yeah, this is, it was announced to the public, and this is,
I'll
we'll
talk to you
continue with the meeting. Anybody have any questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that carries 6-0. Now for the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve consent agenda items 5.02, 5.03, 5.04, 5.05, 5.06, 5.07, 5.08, 5.09, 5.10, 5.11, 5.12, 5.13, and 5.14.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, that carries. Now, next on the agenda, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session for the purposes of discussing personnel.
Second.
Roll call vote, Jennifer.
Joe? Yes, no, sorry. Yes.
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 Yes. All right, that carries 6-0. We will take a 3-minute recess, and we will be back for executive session.